And welcome back to part 11 of Final Fantasy XV. Today we're going to be tackling another one of the optional dungeons to try and get another Royal Arm. If you're following along, don't go to this dungeon. Come back later. This is an honest mistake that I made tackling this dungeon now, because I muddled up what the recommended level for this place is compared to the level of Rocca Ravito. I thought Rocca Ravito, where we're going next parts, was level 50, and the Billville Mines, where we're going now, was level 30. So I was like, okay, it's level 30, I'm close enough to it, it'll make a fun challenge, but not too bad, let's go into it. No, it's the other way around. This place is level 50. I do it, and I managed to successfully beat it and whatnot, but if you're following along and this is your first playthrough, unless you're kitted out to the brim with supplies, don't bother, because you're going to be painfully underleveled for it and you're going to struggle. That's not to say the dungeon's impossible on a low level. You can beat it at level 1. You're going to have a hard time doing it, is the thing. And I should have checked beforehand and known to not go here yet. But I didn't, and by the time I realised, which will be in a couple minutes, I'll point the exact moment I realised I got them muddled up. But just decide, you know what, I've already committed to it, let's do it.
You sure it's safe?
When we get to it. But it's like one of those things, I started recording for it, and I was like, you know what, I've started recording for it, I might as well just give it a go. If I completely die and fail, then you don't get to see it. But level 50, look at that. 10,000 experience points to do it, because they expect you to, you know, be closer to level 50 than we are. But we're going to go do it anyway. This dungeon is quite sizable. It's not too bad, but the idea of it with the lift is that you can start on any floor of the dungeon. You can stop at the B1, B2 or B3, which might be a little overwhelming because it's like, oh god, where should I start? Where's the best place to start, whatnot. On my blind playthrough, I went down to B2 and went from there and ended up backtracking a lot, so I'm just going to say start at B1 and just work your way through it like you would a normal dungeon.
Know what sort of place this is?
The sort that's infested with bloodthirsty demons. Am I warned?
Yeah, thanks, Gladio.
Give me a break.
The boss of this optional dungeon is the only reason why it's level 50, though, if I'm honest, because the boss takes a pounding, is very high leveled, and will one-shot most of your team, even when you're close to level 50.
Shot in the dark, don't you think?
So it says we're on B1 floor, so we're going to exit now and explore like it was a normal dungeon.
Too quiet. Baddies could bounce anytime from anywhere.
When you're on the railroad tracks, it's like it's an minecart rail even. Keep an eye and pay attention, because demons will push minecarts down it to hit you and knock you off balance or whatnot. They do barely any damage, but it's just they will hit you to knock you off balance, and then they can get a surprise attack on you easier. Or they'll lay traps like putting an item on the track, so you have to pick it up and then move.
Something's coming towards us.
Whatever it is, it's moving pretty damn fast.
From behind.
There it is.
I doubt the cart started rolling on its own.
But these demons do get quite crafty, as you're going to see here. He just pushed it straight back. As soon as we got close, he just pushed it back and it knocked me off because I wasn't expecting it when I was playing through. So you have to be wary of that with the minecarts. Even when you're approaching and getting close to them, they might just push them as you're right next to them to try and get that hit on you. And because whilst I was going through here, very well aware of the fact I was underleveled, it was around this time that it crossed my mind that maybe I should unlock Gladio, because the best thing about Gladio is that Gladio has a tendency to kind of pull you through situations you shouldn't be ready for, even if you're drastically underleveled. He doesn't work all the time. Like, if you use him on Omega, one of the super bosses we'll get to much later on, he won't stand a chance. You really need to go Noctis on that fight. But Gladio will save your neck in this fight. I'm not that good with him, but I'm okay enough that I survive this dungeon. I make it through the tough boss at the end with him. Only barely though. I do get a bit careless and take a few unnecessary pot shots that put me down. And at this point I'm just trying to make some magic, because it does also cross my mind. It's like, okay, maybe magic will help, because the potency of magic has very little to do with your magic stat and level. You can make magic ridiculously powerful even with a low magic stat and still hit hard with it. It just helps a little bit more if you have a hit hard sort of thing. So I'll store it. I don't end up actually using it, I don't think, but I make it anyway so you know it's there. And as we move down to B2. So I'll stop talking for a few seconds there, just because I like the dungeon theme in this place. Well, it's one of the normal dungeon themes, but it's just a nice piece to listen to. It's got an element of mystery and menace about it, but not too much. It's the right amount for a dungeon theme, I feel. I feel that Square Enix hit the nail on the head when they were getting their composer, when they're getting good old Yoko to compose this track. I'm not going to bother doing a cross chain. I think from this point onwards I start doing a lot less cross chains than I've been doing in the parts up to, because it's just no point. I've shown it off and it's not that helpful, especially on little small fries like this. Like if I can knock down like a rodent and it gives me that for him, then definitely, because that's a large chunk of his health I'll be able to knock off. Up here is where the lift goes down to for B2. Oh yeah, I think this is where I go for Gladio. After I find where he is, yep. Because we've got more than enough. But seriously, the music in this place is so good. Now we're not in combat, I'll let you guys listen to it more. Yeah, sorry if that made you jump. On my blind playthrough that made me jump, but on my second playthrough I was expecting it, so it didn't get me. But that is supposed to be you're caught in the atmosphere, you don't know what you're expecting, and then dun 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 sort of thing, but it's not that bad. It's not. This isn't a horror game, it's not about to go full on horror, so don't worry about it. This section I don't like. You have to get knocked off the bridge by the rodent, that's the point of this area. So the game will completely lock out your controls and stop you being able to do most things. So see, I didn't get knocked off from that. So instead the rodent's going to show up and batter me, and the game won't let me do anything until I get knocked off. It doesn't let you get killed, so you don't get knocked down below 1, but the fact that it forces you to be in that situation like that is a bit like, oh, okay. So I run around a bit until I can get enough space to use a potion, which doesn't equip that much because, you know, he battered the hell out of us, so he knocked the permanent background bar as well, so very low. So I decided to use the Armiger to whittle through, because that does help. When you're using the Armiger, keep in mind you're mostly invincible. You're not completely impervious. There are some attacks that will hit you anyway, but a lot of basic stuff you'll just be completely ignored, so you don't have to worry about it. Now what I do in a sec, which you probably shouldn't do if you're low on items, is I waste an elixir to get Bump Noctis' health up to a better position. Because we just picked up one, so I was like, okay, I'll just quickly use it and bump his health up to a more comfortable set. It's better to keep it, if I'm honest. It's better to keep it and use it on Gladio or Ignis or Prompto. Because if you're under-leveled for a boss fight or something like that, now the Royal Edition's out and you have the ability to free swap between the characters, just take it, because you'll have a more comfortable and bearable time. Especially Iggy, because of Iggy's auto-recover being so powerful. Like once you learn the timing for the recovery and get it down consistently, you'll never get taken down, because you'll recover every single piece of health you lose every time you're hit. Especially if it's a heavy hitting enemy that can do knockdown. But we are actually approaching the later end of this dungeon. We've still got a ways to go, but we're getting there.
And even you can be annoying.
But Prompto does make a good point. If you're struggling to find your way out and get lost here, and you don't want to go for the easy return to entrance option, follow the rails. They will take you to a lift. Which I think is what I show off after that message. I followed the rail just to show that there's a lift entrance along the way.
This place is so old, I'll be surprised if there isn't treasure here.
But there's like, all the enemies here are just basic goblins and weaklings, and then there's just that rodent running around. Oh, Ronin, I think it is, not Rodin. Rodin's the character from Bayonetta. Well, that's Rodon anyway. It's just spelt Rodin. Sorry if I'm not talking that much, but there's not that much to say in this dungeon, if I'm honest. It's not really technical, it's not a big maze, the enemies aren't that difficult. I want to get to the boss because the boss will have something to talk about. But you know it's coming, I know it's coming. There's a trap there, so I wait for it. Iggy takes it in the chin, and we move on. But I do believe we're approaching the later areas. You'll know when we're there because there's this big open space that just drops down into a pit at the bottom. That's the final area. Also, they have these here just so you have to beat up more basic thugs. That's it, they're level, what, 7, I think that says? That's pathetic at this point in the game. I think the only time this would be reasonable is if you decided to enter here before you beat Chapter 2. Like, you decided to see if you could get in here before the actual prologue of the game, which I've never tried. I don't think it will let you. I think there'll probably be a gate locking you out or something. Oh, we're full on lightning energy, okay. Oh, poor Gladio, I heard that. We do a blindside link and it's just, it completely misses because the goblins moved away by then. Like, they try and make it so it holds the enemy in place if you do a fancy attack or combo or something like that, so it's not too bad, but still.
It splits off again here.
Is this a mine or a maze?
Yeah, it's not that bad of a maze, calm it down.
And on we go.
Yep.
So I think that's something worth getting as well. And the way onwards I can see from here as well. Because they try and hide it a little bit from you. Because on the mini-map in the corner it doesn't show it because it goes down a floor. But it is actually another section. As I said, I'm pretty sure it's the way we have to go. We'll find out because I said this is all post and like I recorded this a week ago. I say that because I've recorded 2 parts. The second part I recorded just the other day, but this one I recorded a little while ago and then started working on. And all the editing's done is just me doing the good old voiceover, which I won't have to do too much of because there's a big cutscene at the end which I'm going to leave in without me talking over. But this is the room. When you go down to the bottom, you'll be facing the boss of this area and he will massacre you if you are not prepared. Also, I take my sweet time here because trying to find your way onwards after you beat it to get the royal arm took me a while on my blind playthrough because they hide it a little bit. They don't make it obvious where you're supposed to go, and the objective marker just says go find it, not here's where the secret door is.
Hey, I remember.
It's actually down that cut-in over there, but can't do it until you take down this guy, this very upgraded, powerful Ronin. And so as soon as I get down here, I firstly burn this out just because it's free invincibility. I can get some free damage on him. And it's also at this point that I realise, oh god, it's doing barely anything to him. This is going to be a work. And he's hit me a few times already. He's put me down to 1. And so as soon as I get the chance, I move out of there. And I think I put Gladio into the fight. Yeah. And then for the rest of the fight, it's straight Gladio. So you're going to be able to see how Gladio works. He's a heavy hitter closest to a traditional character action hack and slash character. But he's very reliant on parries. When you block attacks, you build up rage, and your rage will build up damage multipliers. If you perfect parry, it will go up a lot higher than if you just block an attack. That's what you're doing to build up damage. You're blocking attacks, building up the rage meter, and then every so often hitting triangle to use your special attack. If you've done his DLC, which because it's universal once you beat the DLC, it's done on this, you also have an access to an ultimate attack called Duel Master at the end, which I won't go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil too much of it, but just know once you beat episode Gladio you get access to it. And it's since it's universal across all save files, once you do an episode that you just have it. But as you're going to see, I haven't played Gladio in a little while, so I'm trying to get back into the feeling of parrying, and it doesn't work often. You're going to see me take a pounding relatively often as we go through this. But I also try and keep everyone alive, more to keep him distracted, not to hurt him. Like, especially poor Noct, if he gets hit once more, he's dead, because he has no backup health to rely on, he will just go down. So there goes, Prompto's gone for good. The good thing is I also have a few Mega Phoenixes, so I can bring the whole team up if need be, which I think I do a couple times in this as well. And this does get very tight, a lot tighter than it should do. But so we've got maxed out for Maelstrom. And so what you should do once you have Maelstrom is try and get your rage to 4 and then use it. Like literally like bounce off the parry immediately into it to try and make the most of the 4 times damage. But that's easier said than done when it's such a powerhouse of a threat like this guy. Because I think I do it after the 3. Yeah, I do it after the 3 times, which isn't as good, but it's still getting the damage in. So they get followed up with Duel Master.
Any last words?
And so any other enemy in the game, the final hit on Duel Master does 9,999 damage guarantee. This guy, nah, not at all. Eventually you're going to see me be a lot more cautious. The general strategy for this guy, if you're doing it with Noctis, is just be patient. Wait yourself out of a lot of it. Don't burn through anything. Just give yourself time. Wait out for certain attacks if you need to, and work through them. If you're playing as Gladiolus, just get more of a feel for the parrying. If you're playing as Ignis, your wake-up strategy might not work as well, because some of his attacks will put you down in one hit, which ignore his wake-up. And if you're playing as Prompto, there's higher ledges you can get up to away from him that you can use. So use all of these tips to your advantage and eventually burn your way through the fight. But obviously the better choice would be to come in when you're closer to the recommended level than we are. So I'm dangerously under-leveled for this, and you see you get my butt kicked in quite a fair amount before we finally win this. Especially because I haven't played Gladio in a long while, so I'm very rusty at parrying, and so you see me mess it up a hell of a lot. I'm nowhere near as consistent as I used to be, which isn't saying much because I wasn't that consistent in the first place. Oh, I go Iggy with his most out of character scream ever. Like, the song's so calm and collective, he has the biggest, loudest scream when he goes down than anyone else. You see, I do try getting a bit bold and a bit risky in places, because if you get a feel for him, you can do that, but don't if you're even remotely unsure. Because on the 4.0, I immediately follow up with Tempest just to get the extra damage in, but I should have really waited the extra hit to try and get the Maelstrom 4.0 in. Guess while we're here, we'll go through Aramusha's stats so you know what you're putting up with on a more technical level. He has 175,600 HP, has a strength stat of 27,710, vitality is 243, his spirit is 215. He's resistant to swords and daggers by 20%, neutral with every other weaponry, and has a 50% weakness to fire. All of his attacks are partially Dark Elemental, which if you know Dark, knows has instant kill properties, so even if you're highly resistant in a higher level, he can still get away with instant killing you of his attacks if it's a Dark based element. So that being said, what you should really be doing is throwing fire at him as well if you're playing as Noctis. If you have a fire spell, use it, because you'll be getting extra damage out of him and putting him down quicker. Any attack where you see him charge up is Dark Elemental based, also if he slams the ground it's Dark Elemental. But so he's resistant to normal swords, so Noctis's normal engine blade will struggle, and he's also resistant to daggers, so Ignis will be doing less damage to him as well, but it's only by 20%, so it's not the end of the world if you still hit him with it, but just be wary. At this point I'm running out of items, so try my hardest to use smaller, less costly and less important items to pull my way through. And you're going to see me be a lot more cautious and a lot more careful on these pressures as well, as Prompto dies as well. I make sure everyone's alive by the final hit, I believe, so everyone gets the experience for it, just it gets a bit close. So he's dead there, so I decided to use the Mega Phoenix, but we only have 2 left, so we need to be careful. But the Mega Phoenix brings everyone up and temporarily buffs you. I decided to use Tempest again at the 4.0, even though once again, you really shouldn't unless you really can get away with it. You should try and burn through to the Maelstrom on 4.0. Not until you get away with it, unless you feel like it's really necessary. I just do it because it's right there and I'm at the 4.0, might as well take the risk sort of thing. And I get unfortunately hit there, and since I'm out of Phoenix Downs I have to waste another Mega Phoenix just so I can stay in the fight. Because when whoever you're playing as dies, it ends as a game over. And at this point I'm very cautious because I'm out of revives. I get taken down, it's game over. And he's so close to going down. But I get him just there.
Certainly wouldn't be the first time.
And that's how close it got, God. And now we can go get the power from the tomb. And so the objective marker just says go over there, but it doesn't show you how to get there. So I cut So then I cut, made sure I could find where it is, and then resumed recording, and then ran over from where you fought the boss to where you need to go, so you know if you're following along you can see exactly where you're supposed to be heading. You just need to follow this up high enough, and there will be a rock piece that's pushed out with like a wall behind it, over here. And you'll see a gap in the wall, this. And when you approach it, and the game wants to play ball, you can pass through. Like that. There we go. Only took 3 or 4 attempts.
The way continues on.
But I feel like they hid that way too much. Like they could have made it just a more obvious door, or put the objective marker on it, and then just opened it up once you beat the boss, instead of making it so subtly hidden away like that, and then not showing you where it is after you've done all the hard work. I get it, you could argue it's encouraging exploration, but it's encouraging exploration after you've finished exploring. You don't want, like, you've finished the dungeon, you want to be able to just get a move on and collect your reward, and it wants you to explore more. Also, here's another one of the safes, the giant vault doors.
The key question is, where do we look?
Alright, Ignis. Trying to be clever with his words. I can't remember what one this is. I know the Ravito's the fierce one, but oh, clever. Okay, this one's one of the good. This one's a good one. It's not my favourite one. So my favourite one we get in the plot. We don't get on the through side stuff. So that's not for a little while. Oh, I think it's. Oh, it's the crossbow. Okay, this one's really helpful for ranged. Like if you want to do ranged combat at all, this one's a really great one. And it looks cool, like a royal embraced crossbow. It's a cool design. It's a cool decal on it. But that's another to our collection. We're building them up to 5 now. We still got a lot to go yet, but 5 down. There's our 10,000 experience points. Thanks for that, guys. And I go to leave, but this is where I make an interesting discovery. It doesn't come up saying, do you want to return to entrance now? So I'm walking out like, is it going to happen? So eventually I just do the map and return the entrance the manual way.
That's better. Wait, certainly.
Yeah.
We skip and I skipped a car ride as well because I had to drive back over here. And this is just the closest in to the area, so it's not. I haven't travelled to the other end of the world. Don't worry. So we can just rest the night because it's been a long day. And we also get a slight experience boost because it's at an inn and not a campfire. And it has to load, which is weird. Like, it's never had to load like that, and it took a while. But look how many experience points we have, and look how many times we level. We've gone from 22 to 26. 4 levels. That's lovely at this point in the game. It'll make the next area you go to, that's actually a level requirement of 30, a lot more bearable.
Sorry, not sorry.
As we build up more to our photo collection. But I'm glad the photos we've got some quite nice ones. I was worried that they was going to bust and we was going to get a lot of really crappy ones, but we've got some real nice ones, I feel.
Yeah, I know.
But either way, despite the fact there's still another 5 odd minutes in this part, there's actually a cutscene that's going to play because we stayed at this inn, which I completely forgot about, so I'm glad it just kind of kicked in when it did. So I'm going to call it a part here and say next time on Final Fantasy 15 we'll be heading to the Rock of Ravito in the far left bottom corner, so the far southwest corner. I had to think about my map points in for a second to hunt down another royal tomb. But until then, you guys take care now.
So, what you doing?
Nothing much. Just chilling.
Cool.
That was one hell of a day, huh?
Yeah, but it was fun. Every day's fun. Even when we almost get ourselves killed. I never imagined it'd work out like this. That I'd get to go on an adventure with you guys.
Who would have thought, huh?
So, how long have we been friends now? Let's see, beginning of high school, so that's 5 years?
Yeah, but We've known each other way longer than that. Ever since elementary school, right?
Huh? You still remember that?
Could hardly forget being gawked at.
Well, you know, it isn't exactly easy being in the presence of royalty.
And when we did meet in high school, you pretended it was the first time.
Yeah, the first time I worked up the nerve to say something. Feels just like yesterday.
You should have said something sooner.
Oh, Noct. You just wouldn't understand. Back then, I was... Actually, never mind.
Hey, you can't just stop halfway.
Yeah, I know. I used to be super shy. Couldn't talk to people. No surprises, but I had no friends. At least not real ones. I was always alone. And there were times when I felt, well, worthless.
That's what's been bugging you?
I mean, when you look at me, you wouldn't think that I'm anything but a fun-loving, happy-go-lucky joker. But that isn't the real me. Behind all the quips and laughs, I'm a mess of hang-ups. I've always felt inferior to you guys. I'm not royalty, and I'm not strong. I'm nothing, really. Unlike Gladio, I'm not good with people. The way he connects with them, he's operating on a different level. Unlike Ignis, I'm not smart, and I can't cook to save myself. But when we hang out, it's so much fun. I forget what I'm not. Then reality hits me like a splash of cold water, and I remember that I don't belong. But I want to. Every moment, I'm desperate to earn my place, to prove that I'm good enough.
Think what you will, but I think you're good enough for me.
So, you really think I'm doing okay?
Yeah, I do. Anything else?
No, nothing at all. I'm sorry I got so real all of a sudden.
You should know better by now. You think I just make time for any old loser?
Huh? Why, you mad, bro? Seriously, though. Thanks for making time for this loser. Feels good to get that off my chest.
Happy to hear.
All right, I'm gonna keep on keeping on the only way I know how.
Yeah, you do that.